The massive alien ship appeared without warning. One moment Earth's orbital monitors showed nothing unusual, and the next, a vessel longer than 3 aircraft carriers floated silently above the planet. Global defense systems went into high alert. News channels interrupted their broadcasts. Citizens looked up at the sky and wondered if this was the end. Captain Alan Morris sat in the command center beneath Denver, watching the screens with the same calm expression he always wore in a crisis. At 42, Alan had gray starting to show at his temples, but his body remained strong from the daily workouts required of all Earth Defense Force officers. "Still no response to our signals," said Communications Officer Lisa Blackwell. Her fingers moved across the screens, trying different frequencies. Alan nodded. "Keep trying. All channels. All languages." General Frank Nelson entered the room with a team of advisors trailing behind him. "Captain Morris, I need options. The Security Council is meeting in 20 minutes. Sir, I recommend patience. If they wanted to attack, they would have done so already." The general frowned. "That's not an option I can present to the council." Before Alan could respond, Lisa called out, "Captain, we're receiving a transmission. I think it's coming in response to our standard greeting package." The main screen flickered and an image appeared. The being on screen wasn't human. It had a long, thin body with 4 arms and pale blue skin that seemed almost translucent. Its head was larger than a human's, with huge dark eyes that blinked sideways. "Greetings, people of Earth," the alien said in surprisingly good English. "I am Ambassador Zorlath of the Galactic Cooperative. We come in peace and wish to establish diplomatic relations with your world." The room fell silent. Alan stepped forward. "This is Captain Alan Morris of the United Earth Defense Force. We welcome your peaceful approach. May I ask why you've come to our world?" The alien's thin lips formed what might have been a smile. "Your species has achieved sufficient technological advancement to be considered for membership in our cooperative. We request a face-to-face meeting with representatives of your world." General Nelson pulled Alan aside. "I don't like this. It could be a trap. Or the most important moment in human history," Alan replied quietly. "Let me take a small team up to meet them. If anything happens, you'll know not to send anyone else." 2 hours later, after hurried meetings with world leaders, Alan found himself preparing to board a shuttle to the alien vessel. With him were Dr. Olivia Grant, Earth's leading xenobiologist, and Peter Wells, a diplomatic officer known for his skill in negotiating difficult situations. Dr. Grant checked her medical kit for the 5th time. She was 38, with brown, hair pulled back in a practical ponytail and alert eyes that missed nothing. "I can't believe this is happening," she said. "Everything I've studied my whole life, and now I'm going to meet actual aliens." Peter Wells adjusted his tie. At 45, he had been a diplomat for over 20 years, but nothing in his experience had prepared him for this. "Remember, we represent all of humanity up there. No pressure." Alan smiled slightly. "Just follow protocols. We're trained for first contact, even if nobody expected it to actually happen." The shuttle ride was tense but quick. As they approached the alien vessel, they saw it was made of some shining material that seemed to change color slightly as they watched. The shuttle was guided into a docking bay that adjusted itself to fit the human craft. "Atmosphere reads as safe," Dr. Grant said, checking her instruments. "Oxygen levels slightly higher than Earth normal. No detected pathogens." They stepped out into the alien ship, wearing their formal uniforms but no protective gear. A delegation of 4 aliens waited for them. All had the same basic body shape as Zorlath, though they varied in height and the patterns on their skin. Alan felt strange as he took his first steps. "The gravity," he said. "It's Earth normal." Zorlath moved forward, moving somewhat stiffly. "Yes, we have adjusted our environmental systems to match your planet's conditions. It is difficult for us, but we wish to make you comfortable." "That's very kind," Peter said, falling easily into his diplomatic role. "But unnecessary. We could have adapted to your preferred conditions." "Perhaps later," Zorlath said. "Please follow me to our meeting chamber." As they walked through the ship, Alan noticed everything seemed built for taller, thinner beings. The aliens moved carefully, as if the gravity made each step an effort. One of them stumbled slightly, and Alan instinctively reached out to steady him. The alien felt surprisingly light under his hand. "My apologies," Alan said quickly. "No offense taken," the alien replied. "Your reflexes are impressive." The meeting chamber was a round room with a table and chairs that looked almost human in design, though slightly off in their proportions. The humans sat on one side, the aliens on the other. "I am curious," Dr. Grant said once formal introductions were complete. "You call yourselves the Galactic Cooperative. How many species are members?" 47 at present, Zorlath answered. "From 39 star systems. Earth would be the 48th, if found suitable." "Suitable?" Peter asked. "What criteria do you use?" "Technological development, cultural stability, and biological compatibility," another alien named Selvir explained. "Some environments produce species that struggle to integrate with the wider community." Alan noticed how the aliens kept watching their movements with what seemed like fascination or concern. "You're from a lower gravity world than Earth, aren't you?" he asked. Zorlath nodded, a gesture they must have learned from studying humans. "Yes. Our homeworld, Nexus Prime, has approximately 0.4 of your gravity. Most cooperative species evolved in similar conditions. Your world is unusual." The meeting continued for hours as they exchanged basic information. The aliens explained that they had been monitoring Earth's broadcasts for decades, learning human languages and studying their cultures from a distance. They seemed particularly interested in human physiology and how it had been shaped by Earth's gravity. As the meeting drew to a close, Zorlath made an unexpected offer. "We would like to invite a small delegation of humans to visit Nexus Prime, to begin cultural exchange. 5 representatives to stay for 1 Earth month." The humans exchanged glances. "That's very generous," Peter said carefully. "When would this visit take place?" "As soon as your leaders approve, and your people are prepared. Within 1 of your months, perhaps." Later, as they returned to their shuttle, Dr. Grant could barely contain her excitement. "Did you see how they moved? Their bone structure must be completely different from ours. And they were struggling with our gravity." "Yes," Alan said thoughtfully. "They seemed very interested in how easily we moved." Peter was already composing his report on his tablet. "The General won't like this invitation, too many unknowns. But we can't refuse," Alan said. "This is what humanity has been waiting for, proof we're not alone, and a chance to join something bigger than ourselves." As their shuttle detached from the alien vessel, Alan looked back at it through the viewport. Something about the way the aliens had watched them bothered him. It wasn't just scientific curiosity he had seen in those large eyes. It had been something closer to caution, maybe even fear. What he didn't know was that, after their departure, Zorlath and his team were having their own discussion. "Their muscular density is remarkable," one alien scientist said, "and their reaction times in this gravity." "Yes," Zorlath agreed. "If they come to Nexus Prime, their physical capabilities will be even more pronounced. We must proceed carefully. The Council needs to see them firsthand before making a decision." "Are you sure this is wise? The last high-gravity species we encountered?" "I know the history," Zorlath said firmly. "But we cannot judge all such species the same. These humans show promise despite their physical advantages. We will test them properly before deciding their fate." The alien ship remained in Earth orbit, a silent reminder that humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and that the universe was watching them carefully. A month after first contact, 5 humans stood in the loading bay of the alien ship preparing for the journey to Nexus Prime. Captain Alan Morris looked over his team one last time. Dr. Olivia Grant checked her medical supplies while talking, excitedly about the research opportunities. Peter Wells reviewed diplomatic protocols on his tablet. 2 new members completed their group. Samantha Kelly, a brilliant engineer with short red hair and a quick smile, and Daniel Washington, a security specialist, whose calm presence made everyone feel safer. "Final checks," Alan said. "Everyone has their emergency beacons?" They all nodded, touching the small devices attached to their wrists. These beacons were Earth's insurance policy. If anything went wrong, they could signal for help. Ambassador Zorlath entered the bay. "Are you prepared for departure? The journey will take 3 of your Earth days." "We're ready," Alan confirmed, the die. Humans were shown to their quarters, rooms clearly modified to accommodate their different body shapes. The beds were shorter and wider than what the aliens would use. The food dispensers had been programmed with Earth recipes, though the results tasted slightly off. "They're really trying," Samantha said as they ate together that first night. "But I'm bringing my own coffee next time." On the 3rd day, Alan woke to a strange sensation. His body felt lighter, almost buoyant. He realized the ship's artificial gravity was being gradually reduced to match their destination. "We are approaching Nexus Prime," Zorlath announced over the ship's communication system. "Please gather in the observation deck." The 5 humans assembled quickly, eager for their first glimpse of an alien world. When they entered the observation deck, a collective gasp escaped them. Through a massive window, they could see a planet of stunning beauty. Nexus Prime had vast oceans of deep purple and land masses in shades of amber and gold. Delicate-looking, cities rose from the surface in spiraling towers that seemed too thin to support themselves. "It's beautiful," Olivia whispered. "Welcome to our home," Zorlath said with evident pride. "We will dock at the orbital station and then descend to the surface. I must warn you, our natural gravity will feel very light to you. Please move carefully until you adjust." The orbital station was a ring of gleaming metal surrounding a central hub. As they docked, the humans felt the gravity decrease even further. "0.4 G, Samantha reported, checking her instruments. "Less than half of Earth normal." When they stepped onto the station, the effect was immediate. Each movement sent them higher and farther than expected. Alan felt as if he might float away with each step. Daniel accidentally pushed off too hard and bumped into a ceiling panel, leaving a small dent. "Sorry," he said, embarrassed. The aliens watched them with wide eyes. Alan noticed how gracefully the aliens moved in their natural gravity, almost like dancers or swimmers gliding through water. "Perhaps we should practice before going to the surface," Peter suggested diplomatically. They spent hours in a special chamber, learning to control their movements in the lighter gravity. It was like learning to walk again. A step that would barely lift them an inch on Earth now sent them a foot into the air. What would be a normal jump on Earth launched them nearly to the ceiling. "This is amazing," Samantha said, performing a slow-motion somersault in the air. "The physics applications are incredible." Finally, they were deemed ready to descend to the surface. The shuttle ride was smooth, and they landed in a spacious plaza surrounded by those impossibly thin towers they had seen from orbit. A small crowd of aliens had gathered to witness the arrival of the first humans on their world. "Stay close," Zorlath advised, "and remember your practice." The humans stepped out into the alien sunlight, which felt warmer and redder than Earth's. The air was thinner but breathable, with a sweet scent like cinnamon. All around them, the II buildings rose like crystal formations, connected by delicate bridges that swayed slightly in the breeze. "How do those structures support themselves?" Samantha asked, pointing to a particularly tall and thin building. "Our material science is quite advanced," Zorlath explained. "But also, in our gravity, less structural support is needed." As they toured the city, the humans attracted stares from the local population. Some aliens kept their distance while others approached with curious questions. Children, or what the humans assumed were children based on their smaller size, seemed particularly fascinated. Their first day ended with a formal dinner hosted by local officials. The dining hall was filled with important aliens, all eager to see the visitors from the high-gravity world. The tables and chairs were barely substantial enough to support human weight, and Alan winced when he heard his chair creak as he sat down. During the meal, one of the alien officials asked for a demonstration of human strength. Peter tried to politely decline, but several of the aliens insisted. Perhaps something simple, Zorlath suggested, indicating a decorative stone sculpture in the corner. That piece weighs about 40 of your kilograms. Daniel walked over to the sculpture, which stood about waist high. On Earth, 40 kilograms. Would be easy to lift, but not insignificant. Here it felt like lifting a small child. With barely any effort, Daniel raised the sculpture over his head with one hand. The room fell silent. Daniel carefully returned the sculpture to its place, suddenly aware of the tension. "Remarkable," one alien official said finally. "Truly remarkable." That night in their private quarters, the humans discussed the day's events. "Did you see their faces when Daniel lifted that sculpture?" Olivia asked. They looked shocked. "I think we scare them," Samantha said. "From their perspective, we must seem like superpowered beings. We need to be extra careful," Alan agreed. "No showing off, no accidents. We don't want them to see us as threats." Over the next few days, the humans explored more of the alien world. They visited research centers, cultural sites, and natural wonders. Everywhere they went, they had to consciously restrain their physical abilities. A casual movement could accidentally break delicate objects. A friendly pat on the back could send an alien stumbling forward. During a visit to an art gallery, they walked among displays of impossibly thin glass sculptures that seemed to float in the air. Suddenly, one of the displays malfunctioned, and a priceless piece began to fall. Without thinking, Daniel lunged forward and caught it before it hit the ground. His movement was so fast that most of the aliens didn't even see him cross the room. The gallery went completely silent. Daniel carefully placed the sculpture back on its stand and stepped away. "I'm sorry," he said. "I reacted without thinking." The gallery curator, a tall alien with intricate patterns on its skin, stared at Daniel with unreadable eyes. "You saved a treasure beyond price. We are grateful." But later, as they left the gallery, Samantha pulled the others aside. "I overheard some aliens talking when they thought we couldn't hear. They were using words like weapon potential and natural warriors." "That doesn't sound good," Peter said with a frown. That evening, while the others slept, Samantha couldn't stop thinking about what she'd heard. Using her engineering skills, she managed to access a public information terminal and began searching through alien historical records. What she found disturbed her. There were references to another species from a high-gravity world called the Krolon. The information was restricted, but Samantha found enough to realize that the cooperative had a policy of carefully monitoring and sometimes isolating species from heavy-gravity planets. When she told the others at breakfast, Alan's face grew serious. "So that's why they've been watching us so carefully. They're afraid of what we might do with our physical advantages." "What happens now?" Olivia asked. "Now," Alan said, "we prove to them that humans are more than just strong bodies. We need to show them our true strength comes from here." He pointed to his heart. As if on cue, their alien guide arrived with news. "The High Council requests your presence," she announced. "They wish to conduct a formal assessment of humanity's suitability for the cooperative." The humans exchanged glances. Their true test was about to begin. The High Council chamber was a vast circular room at the top of the tallest spire in the capital city. Light streamed in through walls made of something like glass, but clearer and stronger. 12 aliens sat in a semicircle on raised platforms. Their chairs looked more substantial than most furniture on Nexus Prime, suggesting they were prepared for longer meetings. Alan, Olivia, Peter, Samantha, and Daniel stood in the center of the room, feeling exposed under the gaze of the council members. The humans wore their formal Earth uniforms, which suddenly seemed heavy and overly sturdy compared to the flowing, lightweight garments of the aliens. The central figure on the council rose. This alien was taller than the others, with skin that had a slightly golden tint. "I am Elder Kishinar, head of the Galactic Cooperative High Council. We welcome our visitors from Earth." "Thank you for your hospitality," Peter replied with a small bow. "We are honored to be here." Kishinar's large eyes studied them carefully. As Zorlath may have explained, all potential member species undergo assessment before joining the cooperative. Species from high-gravity worlds require special consideration. Alan noticed how the elder hesitated before the word special. He kept his face neutral but made a mental note. We understand, Alan said. What does this assessment involve? A series of tests and observations, Kishinar explained. We must ensure compatibility between species. History has taught us caution when dealing with worlds like yours. Samantha and Alan exchanged a quick glance, both thinking of the restricted record she had found. The first test began immediately. The humans were led to a large open area adjacent to the council chamber. Various objects of different weights and sizes were arranged around the space. A simple physical demonstration, explained a council member named Tevrin. Please move these objects to the marked positions. The task seemed straightforward, but Alan quickly realized it was designed to measure exactly how strong humans were. The objects ranged from lightweight decorative pieces to massive stone blocks that would require heavy machinery to move on Earth. In Nexus Prime's lower gravity, even the heaviest blocks could be lifted by a single human, though with effort. Be careful, Alan murmured to his team. Don't show off, just do what's needed. Daniel nodded, then deliberately struggled more than necessary with a heavy block, making it look like it was at the edge of his capabilities. The others followed. His lead, demonstrating strength but not their full potential. The aliens watched and took notes, their expressions unreadable. Next came endurance tests. The humans were asked to perform various physical activities for extended periods. Running, climbing, and swimming through a specially designed course. The thin atmosphere of Nexus Prime made it challenging, but the reduced gravity compensated somewhat. Still, after 2 hours, even the aliens seemed impressed that the humans showed few signs of tiring. Your stamina is remarkable, Tevrin commented. On Earth, physical fitness is highly valued, Olivia explained. Many of us exercise daily to maintain our health. The test continued over 3 days. Problem-solving challenges, memory tasks, reaction time measurements. The humans performed well but were careful not to seem too exceptional. On the 4th day, they faced what Alan suspected were stress tests, designed to provoke emotional or aggressive responses. The humans were separated and placed in frustrating situations. Daniel had to complete a puzzle where the rules kept changing without explanation. Samantha was given a broken device to fix with inadequate tools. Peter had to negotiate with an alien who deliberately misunderstood everything he said. When they regrouped that evening, everyone was tired and irritable. They're trying to make us angry, Peter observed. I think they want to see if we become violent under pressure, Alan agreed. Everyone stay calm, no matter what happens tomorrow. The next morning, Olivia was invited to visit a scientific laboratory with 3 Nexian scientists. The others were told to wait in a nearby observation room where they could watch through a window. Inside the lab, Olivia and the aliens examined biological samples from various worlds. Suddenly, warning lights began flashing. A computerized voice announced, "Warning, atmospheric system failure, pressure dropping in Laboratory 7. Through the window, Alan could see Olivia and the 3 aliens looking alarmed. One of the aliens tried the door, but it wouldn't open. It's sealed for containment, Zorlath explained, appearing behind the humans. Standard procedure during depressurization. She'll die if we don't get her out, Alan said, his voice tight with tension. Our emergency systems will respond, Zorlath assured him, but Alan noticed the alien didn't seem to be doing anything to help. The observation room's monitor showed the pressure in the lab dropping rapidly. Olivia was helping one of the aliens who had collapsed, while trying to reach an emergency breathing apparatus on the far wall. Alan turned to Daniel. We need to get that door open. Without waiting for permission, the 2 men rushed to the laboratory entrance. The door was sealed with a complex locking mechanism. Daniel braced himself against the wall and pulled on the door with all his strength. The metal began to bend. Meanwhile, Samantha pushed past the aliens watching in shock and reached the control panel. I can override the safety protocols, but I need access to the main system. An alien technician hesitated, then pressed his hand to the panel, granting her access. Samantha's fingers flew across the alien interface. Got it, she shouted, just as Daniel and Alan forced the door open enough to create a gap. Inside the lab, The pressure was dangerously low. Olivia had managed to reach the emergency breathing masks and had placed them on 2 of the aliens, but she and the 3rd alien were struggling to breathe. Peter organized the shocked aliens in the hallway. "We need medical teams here now and bring oxygen support." Alan and Daniel slipped through the gap they'd created and rushed to Olivia. Daniel grabbed the 3rd alien while Alan reached Olivia, who was starting to lose consciousness. They carried them out just as Samantha managed to stop the depressurization. Within minutes, medical teams arrived. The humans watched anxiously as Olivia and the aliens received treatment. To their relief, everyone would recover fully. Hours later, they were summoned back to the council chamber. The mood was different now. The council members seemed less distant, less formal. Elder Kishinar spoke first. "We have reviewed your performance in all tests, including today's unexpected emergency." "Unexpected?" Alan couldn't help asking. "Was that part of the test too?" Kishinar's expression shifted slightly. "All aspects of your visit provide valuable data." Peter stepped forward. "With respect, Elder, if you wanted to see how we respond to a crisis, you could have simply asked." "Would your response have been as genuine?" another council member asked. "Yes," Peter said firmly, "because that's who we are. Our strength isn't just in our muscles. Humans evolved on a world that challenged us in many ways. Yes, our gravity made us physically strong, but our true strength comes from how we work together under pressure." He gestured to his team. Daniel and Alan used their strength not to harm but to save. Samantha used her technical skills to stop the emergency. Olivia risked her own safety to help your scientists first. That's humanity at its best. The council members exchanged glances. Elder Kishnar's expression was thoughtful. "Your words are compelling, Diplomat Wells. But words and actions in controlled settings can be deceptive. The cooperative has encountered physically powerful species before. The results were unfortunate. Judge us by who we are," Alan said quietly, "not by who others were." "We shall continue our deliberations," Kishinar announced. "For now you may return to your quarters." As they left the chamber, Olivia, still looking pale from her ordeal, turned to the others. "That wasn't just a test, was it? They deliberately put us in danger to see how we would react." "I think so," Samantha agreed. "And I'm not sure we passed by their standards." "Then we'll have to change their standards," Alan said with determination. "Because they need to understand that Earth's gravity didn't just make us strong. It taught us to carry each other when things get heavy." The humans spent the next 2 days confined to their quarters. No one came to speak with them except the staff who brought meals. Even Zorlath, who had been their guide since first contact, was nowhere to be seen. "They're afraid of us," Daniel said as they sat together in their common room. "After what happened in the lab, they think we're dangerous." "Or they're still deliberating," Peter suggested. "Making a decision about an entire species must be difficult." Olivia, now fully recovered from the lab incident, shook her head. "Something doesn't add up. That emergency was too convenient. I've been thinking about the lab systems. They were redundant, with multiple backups. A failure that complete would be nearly impossible without deliberate action." "You think they set it up?" Alan asked. "I'm almost certain," Olivia replied. "And I noticed something else while I was working in their databases yesterday. They've been collecting data on Earth for much longer than they admitted." This got everyone's attention. Samantha leaned forward. "How much longer?" "Centuries, not decades. There were reference codes in the system dating back to at least the 1800s. Alan's expression darkened. "So they've been watching us, studying us, without our knowledge. And they didn't just happen to arrive when we reached a certain technology level." "I'm going to find out more," Samantha said, moving to the terminal in the corner of the room. She had learned enough of the alien computer systems over the past days to navigate them with some skill. "They've given us limited access, but I might be able to find something." While Samantha worked, the others discussed what this might mean for Earth. If the cooperative had been watching humanity for centuries, what were they looking for? What had they seen that concerned them? Hours passed. Finally, Samantha called them over. I found something. It was buried in a historical archive that wasn't properly secured. On the screen was an image of a creature that looked nothing like humans or the Nexians. It was massive, with thick limbs and heavy armor-like skin. The text beside it was in the alien language, but Samantha had managed a rough translation. The Kroln, she read, a species from the high-gravity world Dorkesh. They were first contacted by the Cooperative 300 years ago. Initially peaceful, they later used their physical advantages to conquer multiple worlds. A coalition of cooperative species finally defeated them, but at great cost. So that's it, Alan said quietly. They think we'll be like these Kroln. There's more, Samantha continued. After the Kroln conflict, the cooperative established new protocols for high-gravity species. Monitoring before contact, careful assessment, and if necessary. She paused, looking troubled. What? Peter asked. Containment or isolation? They have technology to create barriers around star systems. They could cut Earth off from the rest of the galaxy if they decide we're too dangerous. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Their mission wasn't just about joining the galactic community. It might determine whether Earth would be allowed to remain connected to it at all. A chime at the door interrupted their thoughts. Zorlath entered, looking solemn. The Council requests your presence. They have questions before making their final decision. The Council chamber seemed colder than before. The 12 members watched the humans enter with expressions ranging from curiosity to clear distrust. Elder Kishinar spoke first. We have reviewed all data collected during your assessment. Some Council members have concerns about human physical capabilities and how they might be used. Alan stepped forward. Elder, with respect, we know about the Kroln. A murmur passed through the Council. Kishinar's expression didn't change, but his large eyes narrowed slightly. I see you have been exploring our historical records. Yes, Alan said. And we understand your caution. But judging humanity based on another species' actions is unfair. Is it? A different Council member spoke up. The pattern is clear. Species from high-gravity worlds develop physical advantages that often lead to aggression. It is not a judgment but a statistical reality. Statistics don't define individuals, Olivia argued. And individuals make up a species. Yes, humans have fought wars. We've made terrible mistakes. But we've also created art, music, and literature. We've developed medicine to heal, not just weapons to harm. Kishnar raised a hand for silence. We must also address another matter. Dr. Grant has correctly surmised that the laboratory incident was a controlled test. We needed to observe your responses to crisis without preparation. You put your own people at risk, Alan said, unable to keep the edge from his voice. Minimal risk, Kishinar replied. Had you not intervened, our emergency systems would have activated in time. But your intervention was revealing. How so? Peter asked. Your immediate response was to save lives, not to protect yourselves. And you prioritized everyone equally, not just your own kind. This is not consistent with our historical data on aggressive species. The humans exchanged glances, sensing a possible shift in the Council's position. There is one more matter, Kishinar continued. You are correct that we have observed Earth for centuries. This is standard protocol for all potential contact species, especially those from high-gravity environments. Why didn't you tell us this from the beginning? Peter asked. Would you have trusted us if we had admitted to monitoring your world without your knowledge? It was a fair point, and Peter had no ready answer. Another Council member leaned forward. What troubles us most is your species' rapid technological development combined with your physical capabilities. You advance quickly and adapt easily. This makes you unpredictable. Unpredictable doesn't mean dangerous, Alan argued. It can also mean innovative, creative, helpful in ways you haven't imagined. Kishinar's expression remained neutral. Captain Morris, what would you do if we decided Earth was too great a risk? If we chose to isolate your world, The question hung in the air. Alan felt the weight of responsibility for his entire species resting on his answer. "I would be disappointed," he said finally. Sad that fear won over hope. "But I wouldn't try to fight you or change your minds through force. I would ask for one thing, a chance to show you who we really are." "And how would you do that?" Alan took a deep breath. "Invite a delegation from the cooperative to visit Earth. Not just officials in meeting rooms, but ordinary people in our cities, our schools, our homes. See how we live. Watch how we treat each other and our planet. Then make your judgment based on what you observe, not what you fear." Kishinar studied Alan for a long moment, then turned to confer with the other council members in low voices. The humans waited, aware that the future of Earth-alien relations hung in the balance. Finally, Kishinar turned back to them. "Your proposal has merit, Captain Morris. The council will consider it. Until then, you will remain here as our guests." As they left the chamber, Peter looked troubled. That wasn't a yes. But it wasn't a no either, Samantha pointed out. "What do we do now?" Daniel asked. "Now," Alan said, "we keep showing them who we really are, not just with words, but with every action. And we hope they're watching carefully." What the humans didn't know was that the council remained divided. Some saw potential in these strange, strong beings from Earth. Others saw only the shadow of the Krone and the devastation they had caused. But all agreed on one thing. Whatever they decided about humans would shape the future of the galaxy for centuries to come. 6 months after the human delegation returned from Nexus Prime, a new alien ship entered Earth's orbit. Unlike the first vessel, this one was smaller and carried 12 representatives from the Galactic Cooperative, including Elder Kishinar and Ambassador Zorlath. Earth had prepared carefully for this visit. A special reception area had been set up in Denver, with gravity settings that could be adjusted to make the aliens more comfortable. Medical teams stood by with treatments to help the visitors cope with Earth's heavier gravity. The world's leaders had been briefed on the importance of this delegation. They were not just visitors, but judges who would determine humanity's place in the galactic community. Captain Alan Morris waited at the landing pad alongside Dr. Olivia, Grant, Peter Wells, Samantha Kelly, and Daniel Washington. They had become minor celebrities since their return, though many details of their mission remained classified. Now they would serve as guides for the aliens visiting their world. "Nervous?" Olivia asked Alan as they watched the alien shuttle descend. "A little," he admitted. "We're showing them our home. I want them to see its best side." The shuttle landed gently. When the door opened, Zorlath emerged first, moving slowly and carefully in Earth's gravity, despite the medical treatments. The other aliens followed, including Elder Kishinar, who needed the support of a special exoskeleton to move comfortably. "Welcome to Earth," Alan said, stepping forward to greet them. "Thank you, Captain Morris," Kishinar replied. "We are eager to observe your world firsthand." The human team had prepared a careful schedule. The aliens would visit major cities, rural communities, schools, hospitals, and cultural centers. They would observe humans in their natural environment, living their normal lives. Nothing would be hidden, though security was tight to prevent incidents. On the first day, they toured Denver. The aliens watched with interest as humans of all ages and backgrounds moved through the streets. They seemed particularly fascinated by children playing in a park, jumping and running with energy. That would be impossible on Nexus Prime. "Your young ones are so active," Zorlath commented. "Kids have a lot of energy," Daniel explained with a smile. "Sometimes too much." At a construction site, the aliens observed humans lifting heavy materials and operating powerful machinery. What stood out wasn't the physical labor, but the care workers took to ensure everyone's safety. "Your species possesses great strength," Kishinar noted, "yet you use restraint." "Strength without control is dangerous," Alan replied. "That's one of the first things we teach our children." In the following days, the delegation visited a hospital where they watched surgeons perform delicate operations with hands that could bend steel in the aliens' gravity. They toured a school where children learned not just facts, but ethics and compassion. They observed a military training exercise where soldiers practiced rescuing civilians from disaster zones. 1 week into the visit, a real emergency provided an unplanned demonstration. During a tour of San Francisco, a moderate earthquake struck. Buildings designed to withstand such events merely swayed, but an old bridge suffered damage, trapping several cars. Before the alien delegation could be moved to safety, they witnessed humans rushing toward the danger. Emergency workers coordinated quickly. Civilians helped strangers. A group of construction workers used their equipment to stabilize the bridge while rescuers reached the trapped cars. "They're not even military or emergency personnel," Zorloth said in wonder, pointing to several civilians helping move debris. "Yet they risk themselves for others they don't know. That's being human," Olivia said simply. After 2 weeks of tours and observations, the delegation was invited to meet with a special human representative. Instead of the world leaders they expected, they were introduced to Linda Reyes, a 55-year-old elementary school teacher from New Mexico. "Ms. Reyes will be your guide for the next phase of your visit," Peter explained. "She represents ordinary humanity better than any politician." Linda took the aliens to her hometown, a small community near Santa Fe. There they stayed in her modest home and met her neighbors. They shared meals with her family and observed daily life in a typical human community. Linda's 80-year-old mother, Elaine, particularly fascinated the aliens. Despite her age and arthritis, she insisted on tending a community garden that provided fresh vegetables for local families in need. One morning, Kishinar found Elaine kneeling in the garden, pulling weeds with gnarled hands. The elder watched as she winced with each movement but continued working. "Why do you persist with such physical labor?" Kishinar asked. "Your species has machines that could do this work. Your daughter could assist you. Why continue when it causes pain?" Elaine looked up, shading her eyes against the sun. "Some burdens are worth carrying," she said simply. "This garden feeds people who need it. The work reminds me I can still help others, even at my age." On their final day on Earth, the alien delegation prepared for a global broadcast. Billions of humans watched as Elder Kishinar addressed the world from the United Nations headquarters in New York. "People of Earth," Kishinar began, "we came to your world with questions about your place in our galactic community. We carried concerns about the potential dangers of a species with your physical capabilities. But we failed to understand something fundamental about humans." The elder paused, looking at the assembled world leaders and the human team that had guided them. "The true gravity that shapes your kind isn't the physical force of your planet. It's the weight of responsibility you choose to bear for one another. We have seen your strength used not for dominance but for protection. We have witnessed your power channeled into healing and building. We have observed your restraint when restraint was needed, and your bold action when action was required." Kishinar turned to face the camera directly. "Therefore, the Galactic Cooperative formally extends membership to humanity, with all rights and responsibilities that entails. Furthermore, we propose that Earth serve as headquarters for a new division within our organization, the Emergency Response and Rescue Corps, where your unique abilities can be used to protect and save lives throughout the galaxy." After the broadcast, Alan found himself standing with Elder Kishinar, looking out over the New York skyline. "I'm curious," Alan said. "What finally convinced you to trust us?" "Many small moments," Kishinar replied. "The surgeon whose strong hands perform delicate operations, the soldiers who train to rescue, not just to fight, but perhaps most of all, an elderly woman whose body pains her, yet who chooses to tend a garden for others." The elder's large eyes turned to Alan. "The Kraln use their strength to take. Humans use your strength to give. That is a difference that matters." 1 month later, the first joint human-alien mission of the Emergency Response Corps launched into space. Captain Alan Morris commanded the vessel, with a crew of both humans and members of various cooperative species. Their mission: to rescue the survivors of a mining accident on a distant moon. As the ship broke orbit, Alan looked back at Earth growing smaller behind them. He thought of all the generations of humans who had dreamed of reaching the stars, never knowing that the very gravity that seemed to hold them down had actually prepared them to rise. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy, not despite their physical strength, but because they had learned the most important lesson their heavy world had to teach. True strength lies in how gently you carry those who need your help.